Hello viewer, welcome to today's episode of Women's View. I'm your host, Anne Murimi, and thank you once again for joining us. It's always a pleasure to have you. Thank you for all the comments we've been receiving on YouTube and Facebook. Please remember that you can watch us live on Facebook. The handle is GBS Kenya. We also have all our videos showing on YouTube, and the handle is GBS TV Kenya. In case you want to send us an SMS, the number to use is 21144. So welcome and enjoy the show. Today we're going to be talking about online trading. And with me in studio, I've got two very interesting guests. And I want to give them this opportunity to introduce themselves. As always, I start with the ladies first. Karibu.
Hello, I am Ekaterina Dichenko. I'm a CEO and a founder of the online trading platform B2Bexpert.com.
Welcome to the show.
Thank you, Anne.
Okay. Karibu sana.
Thank you. My name is Gashao Kuna. I'm the CEO and founder of a company called Aqua Power, which is involved in power generation.
Welcome to the show. Thank you so much for joining us. Today I'm very happy because I've got founders with me in studio. You know, it's really exciting to be able to have a conversation with people who have actually walked the journey of starting a company, because that's what we're trying to encourage a lot of women, a lot of youth, as well as men. Let me not forget about the boy child to, you know, start their own company. So I'm very privileged to have two founders here. So I need my guests to get to know a little bit about you, and tell me a little bit about where you grew up, just briefly before we get into online trading. I'll start with Katerina.
Yes.
And how you got into online trading.
Yeah, I'm Russian by birth. I started working internationally. Like in 2005, I came to South Africa, fell in love in Africa. I worked in China, I worked in Brazil a little bit, I worked in Europe. Looking into all this business-to-business relationship and trading between the countries, I've realized that there is a room for online enhancement of that. Yeah. So instead of traveling to each other, people can just do business online and meeting suppliers and meeting professional buyers on the online platform.
Okay.
Because for many business people, it's only fun to travel first time or second time.
That's
when
right.
it's your 10th trip to Burkina Faso,
it's exhausting.
It's becoming exhausting. You leave your family at home, you leave your kids at home. So online actually helps people to travel less and do more business through the trustworthy partners.
Okay, excellent. What about you, Kashao? Tell us a little bit about yourself and how you came to the point where you founded your own company. Have you been in employment before, and how was it just to move from an employee to an owner? You know, briefly, before we get into online trading.
I'll try. So I'm a Kenyan. I was born in Kenya, in Nakuru. I done various things. I actually started out life as a scientist.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I have a
surprise,
PhD.
And you're in business.
Yeah. So
which
in genetics.
Oh, genetics.
Yeah. So I did that for some time, but then after that, I first started out in consulting. So I was doing management consulting for some time.
Okay.
Then I was employed. I worked as a CEO of an infrastructure company.
Okay.
But I always wanted to do something on my own.
Okay.
So in 2016, I founded my own company, which was always going to be involved in infrastructure because I enjoy it.
Oh, yeah.
And we're focused on power generation, baseload power generation. So that's basically gas, hydro, geothermal, and some biomass. Right now, it's mainly been gas. So that's why we've been working with Russia and Russian companies, because obviously Russia is the biggest gas exporter in the world. But we're focused just on Africa, East Africa especially, but we're also now focused on West Africa as well.
Oh, that's excellent. And I'm happy to hear that despite what you're studying being different from what you're doing, I mean, people tend to think that what you study is what you're going to do. But I mean, genetics and infrastructure, there's hardly any relationship, but nevertheless, I hope you enjoyed studying genetics, and like it was not all a waste.
I really, really enjoyed it. And like anything, I mean, there were the good parts and bad parts. It was intellectually extremely interesting. It was a really good time in the field because that's when they were sequencing the human genome, and genomics has come a long way. So it was great, but it's a different environment because you're in the lab,
That's
you're working
true.
on your own. So
Yeah.
I'm much more of an extrovert. I like to work with people. So
Okay.
I did it for some time, but then I didn't really enjoy just doing experiments and being sort of in a more solitary environment. I wanted something.
You wanted
more.
something more exciting,
Yeah.
dealing with people more instead
Yeah.
of chemicals and microscopes, etc.
Yeah, so I enjoy what I do now because it involves a lot of people, it involves projects, and the best part of it is after you finish, you can look back and see what you've built, which is a nice part of it. Yeah.
Excellent. So when we talk about online trading, there are certain things that come to mind, and most of the times it's online purchasing of things that is mostly, maybe you can do it on WhatsApp, you can do it on Facebook, all the social media channels. But B2B is different. Tell us a little bit about how different B2B is compared to the kind of online trading that is currently happening in Kenya, within Kenya mostly.
Yeah, Kenya has become very vibrant in online trading and probably leading that space in the whole African continent together with Nigeria. But most of the trade which is prevailing now is a B2C trade. So when business is selling to consumers.
Oh, yes.
For instance, business like Jumia is selling to multiple consumers.
That's
or
right.
business like restaurant delivery is selling to the consumers.
Yes.
Whereas what I'm doing is mostly a business-to-business trading. I have no customers who are just individuals. All my
Okay.
customers are companies.
They're corporates.
Yeah, they're corporates.
So that's one difference
and
already.
that's one of the biggest differences that they're corporates.
Yes.
And that actually leads to another difference, is that I don't need to deliver to their doors. The goods are usually being delivered to the port of where my customers are.
Of the country that
of the
they're-
country
yes.
which purchases, because our local customers in respective countries know better how to deliver the goods to their own site.
Exactly.
For instance, when we were delivering gas equipment to Aqua Power, we delivered to Dar es Salaam port.
Oh.
And then Aqua Power already paid the duty and managed to get it through the border and deliver to the own site, because they can do it cheaper by definition.
And they're also quite familiar, because
With the local
with the
environment.
with the local environment. And Dr. Kashao, the same applies to you, because when you purchase the equipment from Russia, you're not. How familiar were you with Russia before you did this transaction? Had you traveled there, for example?
I had, but I wouldn't say we were familiar. Obviously, we sent out inquiries and looked for different places where we could purchase this equipment. So we looked at Brazil, we looked at UK, we looked at Russia, we looked at China. So we got various options, but obviously never actually visited any of these suppliers. So in Russia, we had worked with B2B. So we got what we felt was the best proposal from B2B.
Yes.
And at that point, it was all online. But obviously, it was an expensive piece of equipment. So before we purchased it, we did visit the factory and understand. And it was a very big factory producing very, very large orders for Gazprom, which is multi-billion-dollar company, so very, very large company. So we had the confidence. But having said that, we really required the support of B2B export, because working directly with a Russian company would have been difficult, because language was one obvious one, but also in terms of getting all of the certifications that we required, getting all of the engineering to work correctly. It wasn't when you do business purchasing, it's not as straightforward and commoditized as consumer purchasing. So there's more complexity. So
It's more
requires
complex, and requires a lot of negotiations, a lot of meetings. So I like what Katerina said, that basically the number of trips you'd have had to go to Russia if B2B was not there, roughly would have been, there would have been so many. but because of trading online, all that is reduced, and you're able to do more. It's more efficient, basically.
Yes.
Yeah.
Although for many business people who are just entering the market, it's still very exciting to travel.
Of course.
But I always say that travel is fantastic to see the country, to understand what you're doing. Whereas if you want to reach the conclusion of the deal and really want to procure and have the support, it's better to use online mechanisms because you just can't go that many times.
Yeah, you just can't. And you're also trying to look at your the costs of flying every time, and maybe
It
not
adds
just
up.
yourself. You've got to be a group of you. So when people think about online trading, why doesn't Russia does not come into their minds first, So I'm happy that you're from Russia and you've come to be able to tell us more a little bit about Russia. Demystify some things for us about Russia that maybe, I think it's very far. Is that so? I think it's not as far as Australia.
Yeah, of course not. No, there are several myths about Russia
Yes.
which we can demystify. Maybe let me mention just three, probably the most common myths.
Okay.
One is that Russia is far, which is definitely not. Moscow is right above Nairobi. It has the same time zone. It's very easy to connect.
That's
it's
good
only
news,
5
yeah.
hours from Dubai and only 2.5 hours from Amsterdam,
Okay.
and 2.5 hours from Istanbul. So it's not really far to travel to Moscow. But Russia itself is very big.
Yes.
So within Russia, you can still travel for 9 hours.
Oh, yeah, because Russia is huge.
Because
yes.
it's a big country, and if you want to reach the Pacific coast, this is when you really have to fly.
Okay.
And that distance is the same as from Johannesburg to Frankfurt. Yeah, so it's really long and far.
Yes.
But most of our customers, even if they come to visit Russia, they go to European part of it.
Yes.
So, for instance, the factory which Mr. Kuna visited was about 1.5 hours flight from Moscow.
From Moscow,
So
okay.
it wasn't too far. And he could do one-day trip to just visit the factory, come back,
Okay.
because it's all well connected.
So it's closer than the US.
Yeah, it's
Much
much closer to
closer.
the US, and the
Yes.
same time zone actually helps to work online very efficiently, because when you send your request, we respond immediately.
Immediately, exactly.
And not in the next morning, so it's very convenient. And Russia, in that regard, is very well positioned, because we are just between China and Europe,
Yes.
and that's what makes us in the middle of the modern trade.
Okay.
So myth number 2 is that Russia is not friendly, which
Yeah,
I think
that's
which I
true.
think is very well spread myth.
I think Mr. Kuna needs to tell us how was the feeling? How are Russians? Maybe now you're biased, but are they friendly? Friendlier than
Maybe
not,
I'll
not,
comment
not
on
friendlier than not friendlier than Africans. The two of you I know are very good friends. But
No, I think what's important is that Russians are actually quite friendly and hospitable people, but because they don't know foreign languages well, it feels
Yeah,
like they're
the language
shy
barrier.
and there's a language barrier. So for many people, it felt like the people don't want to talk and don't want to smile, but it's all because they're not comfortable with the language.
Yes.
Like if you enter Russia and you see how people negotiate and deal with each other, it's a very friendly and very warm
Okay.
environment, very hospitable environment.
Okay.
And this is why I've been Russian. I personally enjoy working with Africa because there's a lot of cultural
Similarities. Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
people are warm and people are friendly, and I enjoy working with my customers in Africa, Latin America, in Asia, because it's all very nice and warm.
Okay. Less British.
No, I mean, maybe that way. Europeans are a bit more transactional, let's put it that way.
Yeah, a
So
bit
they
more
put relationship behind the transaction.
Yeah.
Whereas we understand that relationship is important, and even if you trade online, we try to provide that level of service and warmth to the people because we really mean it. And I think good service is extremely important, and we need to be friendly to our customers, because if they don't enjoy the process of working, what else they're going to do?
I know.
I mean, you have to
We spend so much time
Yes.
working that it's so important for you to actually enjoy. And I like what you said earlier, that you enjoy being in a corporate environment more than in a lab type of setup because of the hours that you put in there. So, Mr. Kuna, I want to ask you, did you have any fears when you decided to purchase such a huge piece of equipment online? Like, did you feel like offline would have been better, or now that you've done it, do you actually prefer online?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, when you're purchasing expensive equipment, your biggest fear is, does it work?
Yes.
Right? So you don't want to buy something which ends up not working, because obviously that will be not just the cost of buying the equipment, it's the impact on the project, which is even more important.
Of course, yeah.
What I enjoyed about the experience is that the Russians were very detail oriented. So, you know, Russians love engineering and mathematics, and so there's a lot of detail that sort of went into making sure that we got a product which was very, very well designed.
Okay.
So that gave us a lot of comfort. I think the other thing is that I think a lot of the times when you're dealing with suppliers, the discussion starts around the price.
Yes, that's true.
With the Russians, it didn't start that way. They were not so concerned about the price. A lot of it was around the design and the engineering, etc. So at the end of the day, we got something which was robust. Of course, then we negotiated the price and did the best we could on that. But I think the challenge oftentimes, especially at the moment, in a very competitive environment, is that, you know, supplier tries to figure out what you want to pay, then they try to figure out what they can supply, and they just fit into the price as opposed to fitting into what you really need.
Exactly, making sure that it meets your needs.
Which can be very dangerous. So, you know, from that perspective, I think we got a lot of comfort. And lastly, you know, when you're dealing with somebody who's supplying a lot of volume to companies which are much, much larger than yourself, then that also gives you a big sense of confidence. So,
Exactly.
you know, yeah.
Yes.
So although Russia probably doesn't export as much as one would expect, it's a very big internal market. So some of these suppliers may not be exporting as much as Chinese suppliers, but
Yes.
if you look at the amount of products that they're doing for the local market,
Within Russia,
Russia, it's very big.
Okay.
So you still deal with the sort of very big and established companies.
Okay. And then you talked about the fact that you had sourced from different countries. So price is key to Kenyans as well, right? Of course, quality matters as well, but affordability is key. So when you were done with the process, was the price difference so much bigger than if you had bought, let's say, from China?
I think it was maybe 10% above what we may have bought from our cheapest supplier. I'm not sure who, I don't remember now who would have been the cheapest supplier. But again, in a bespoke piece of equipment, it's very difficult to compare because would we have gotten the same product? Would it have been the same quality? Would we have been able to have the same interaction on the engineering design and make sure we got exactly what we wanted, all these issues. So, and the most important thing is that it's working and it's been working very well.
That's the most important thing.
Yeah.
And you're able to repair it in case of some downtime.
We've had, exactly. So, and the other thing is the maintenance costs have been very reasonable. So it hasn't required a lot of maintenance. And the parts have been very well priced.
Okay, so we're really talking, our conversation is a bit one-sided because we were focusing more on importing to Kenya from Russia. But B2B is both ways, right?
Yes.
And we're trying to get Kenyans to actually export to Russia.
Yeah. I mean, look, we started the platform by exporting goods to Russia, and this is why one of our customers is talking about it, because it has happened.
Okay.
This year we offered selected African countries, selected Latin American countries, and Indonesia to use our platform to start exporting to Russia.
Okay.
And I think it has great potential because I really want my partners on this side to succeed and make more money with us by selling to Russia.
Okay.
Since Europeans put a ban on, since Russians put a ban on European products, especially some foodstuffs, export from Africa to Russia has been growing.
Okay.
It has been growing mostly due to South Africa, which is a large agri-producer. But I want other countries to join that parade and kind of start exporting and provide more products, more initiative towards that. So I'm very happy to support, and I think it would be a fantastic opportunity for Kenyans to discover new markets with us.
And what are the goods that Russia is looking to import from Africa? We've talked about foodstuffs.
Yes, foodstuffs is number one, obvious thing.
All types?
No, some selected foodstuffs, because probably now we would not touch alcohol. and we would not touch.
You have enough of that there, right?
Yes. Alcohol is a very competitive market.
Yes.
So we would not touch alcohol, and we would not touch super fresh product like berries, broccoli, and cut flowers.
Okay.
Because this requires immediate, just-in-time delivery, very smooth processes, which is so far hard to establish because we do not have direct flight between Russia and Kenya.
Okay. Okay.
So we are focusing on the products which are already processed or pre-processed, which can be raw materials, so ingredients for further processing,
Okay.
such as oils and aromatic oils and powders like starch,
Okay.
which is very easy to transport, very easy to store. Coffee, tea, obviously,
Yes.
because we don't grow them in Russia. Herbs, better dried herbs,
Dried herbs, yes.
so that we don't rush to make sure they're still fresh. And we
Yes.
have a little bit of a leeway in logistics. Very interesting categories, some cosmetic products. Kenya is becoming interested in exploring natural cosmetics.
Yes, that's true.
Baobab oil, avocado oil, all this new type of shea butter products.
Without sulfites,
Very-
sulfates, and you know.
Yes, exactly. And I think our customers really appreciate it. It's no chemical, no add-ons. It's no parabens. Beautiful,
true, yes.
clean nature. People appreciate that, and we want to introduce such products.
Okay.
Then on the non-food stuff, we look for certain types of apparel and certain types of shoes. We believe that Africa is now emerging. We want to support the new African designers.
That's
It's a
right.
fantastic opportunity for them to show off their work to the rest of the world. And then we look for jewelry and bijouterie, but the cheap jewelry, not gold and diamonds, obviously.
Like the African
some-
type of jewelry that we have.
Yes,
right?
but yeah, especially wooden ceramics, stuff like kazuri beads.
Kazuri beads,
Kazuri beads are
yes.
quite popular as souvenirs.
Okay.
I brought many of them to different ladies in Russia as gifts, and everybody appreciates that.
Yeah, they're actually
because
very
they're
good.
they're very cool.
And
They're
very
very
creative,
different.
yes.
Nobody else does it. They have beautiful, cheerful designs, and yet they are not expensive.
Yeah.
It's a fantastic gift. So
What
I think
about the Maasai, the ladies who make the Maasai type
the
of...
beadings is a bit difficult because for European ladies, it's very difficult to wear beadings.
That's true.
Yeah, so
because-
they're a bit too loud and they're a bit too big.
Okay.
So it's better to use other stuff like stones, wood, glass, yes, ceramics.
Okay.
Something that what Kintegela is experimenting with. The glass works there. So they
Okay.
also try to do some personal use stuff, not only home decor. I think these items are of interest, and we should definitely introduce them. Home decor.
Okay.
Russians are obsessed with beautiful design. They spend a lot of money on decorating offices, apartments, hotels, and public spaces. There are a lot of items can be added, and pieces of furniture, lampshades, wraps, covers, curtains,
Yeah, okay,
pillows, all sorts of.
And those
yeah.
are very common to see
Yes.
even online here.
Yes, that's true. That's true.
Okay, okay.
Yes, that's
yeah.
true.
So it's actually very feasible, you know?
Yes, this stuff is very feasible, and that's what we can try to do. And for those who are not confident with online trade, I just wanted to emphasize once again, we do not take credit card details because we are B2B business.
Yes.
So we allow suppliers to publish their goods, and then the processing and the actual shipments goes offline, because at the end of the day, these goods needs to be shipped to the
Yes.
Russian importer.
And that's very key because I don't know whether that was a concern for you, like when you were purchasing such equipment. Would you have been able to purchase it online using like credit cards? That amount of cash might
No,
have
it would.
been-
It would no, and I think it's probably above $10,000. I think becomes.
It becomes
for that type
difficult.
of
Yeah, you have
Yes.
got to do transfers and
Yes.
have a lot of verifications because that's something that people are concerned about. You know, if I load my credit card onto your website, I mean,
Is it safe?
Will it be? Is it safe? Yes.
Yeah, so for that reason, we do not even ask to upload any credit card details.
Okay.
Our customers are paying with transfers, just normal international money transfers, and we are happy with this type of payment, because if you ship the container of pillows, it wouldn't be $5.
I know. Yeah.
Yeah,
That's
so
true.
the goods which we are shipping and we are trading are usually more valuable than that. And if it's
Okay.
a full container, it's in the range of 20, 30, 40,000 dollars, which is above credit card limits.
Okay, okay. So the fact that you've dealt with them is very good for a lot of Kenyans because you're a great Kenyan businessman, and you need to tell us, are Kenyans receptive to this idea? Have you had conversations with fellow businessmen who are in power? Are you mentoring some and encouraging them to use B2B?
Yeah, so I would say more and more. I mean, obviously today there's been a big focus on China, which is what has been, I think, developed here over the last 20 years. So that's normal. But yes, I think people are beginning to understand that there are other opportunities.
Yes.
It also helps that we're also now in similar types of industries. So, before there wasn't as much on, let's just take natural gas.
Exactly.
Right?
Yes.
Russia is a big leader globally in natural gas. So that starts to, put the interests together.
Okay.
But also technology. Russia have developed a lot of technology, especially around security, cyber security.
Yes.
And that's become a big issue. In Kenya, we have the big issue with terrorism, etc. So, people are looking at that, and the best technology in the world is coming from places like Russia.
Okay.
And in that, you start to see the other peripheral technologies around IT, etc. And people start to get curious and to see other options that there are out there. So, but it's a two-way street.
Yes.
The Russians need to be interested, and the Africans, Kenyans, need to be interested. I think it's great because for the first time this month, on the 23rd, of October, there's going to be the first ever forum where the president of Russia has invited all of the African presidents to Russia, which is something I think Obama did when he was president in the US. So President Putin is also doing that for all the African presidents.
I think that's definitely a first for sure.
So I've
not had such a summit before.
In the modern Russia, for sure.
Yeah.
Soviet Union was very active in Africa, but since Soviet Union deceased 30 years ago, Russia has not been too active, engaged in Africa.
Oh, I'm not even aware about the fact that they were active in Africa, Soviet Union. That's interesting.
It was selective countries, but the Russians have been doing a lot of infrastructure building. For instance, the largest hydropower plant in Africa is built by Russian engineers. It's an Aswan Dam in Egypt. Russia has built another big hydropower plant in Angola recently. It's called Kapanda.
Okay.
That's to assist the diamond mining for the mines there.
Okay.
And there were other examples of infrastructure projects, pipelines, railroads in North Africa, in Algeria, Libya, Tunisia.
And that's really what we need. We need a lot of solutions, especially when it comes to the railway system. Guess what? We need to take a break. Time is not on our side. So viewer, please keep it here. We'll be right back after a short break. Thank you.
Kulipa is now easy with EasyPay. When you shop at your local supermarket, fuel your car, dine out, book a flight, make other payments or pay your bills, you want simplicity, security and convenience. It's accepted everywhere you see the EasyPay sign. And it works with other mobile networks too. What's more, you can withdraw your cash at the supermarket till where you see the cashback logo. Get your Equitel line or download the Easy Banking app today because Kulipa is now easy with EasyPay.
We're going to be in the kitchen learning how to do a few tricks. that you're going to get the chance to cook this in your homes because it's very quick, it's very healthy, and it's very delicious. It's so nice. I love it.
I know.
Healing, hope, restoration. Amazing stories of real people like you who have triumphed over tragedy. Watch Turning Point International and be inspired to reach your turning point.
It really ministers to the soul of man, and as a pastor, you benefit a lot because people learn and they learn how to cope with issues probably you don't even deal with in your sermons.
It's not reality TV, it's real life TV.
Now it's time for speaking. Everyone, are you ready?
Si niliwaambia.
Oh, Mr. Sun, Sun, Mr. Golden Sun, please shine down on me.
Kwaheri.
Everywhere, GBS.
Everywhere GBS.
Welcome back, viewer. Thank you so much for keeping it here. Today we've got a very interesting discussion going on here. It's about global trade, but doing it online, because there are lots of advantages that you're able to access if you do it online. And we're actually talking and thinking more about exporting our Kenyan produce to Russia. So welcome and enjoy the remainder of the show. We don't actually have too much time remaining. So Ekaterina, I like that name. Tell us a little bit about the quantities that you're looking for, you know, because Russia is huge, like you said. Are we able to meet the demand? Or?
I guess every big journey starts from the first step.
Okay.
So we are open to work with very small companies who can even ship for $300.
Okay.
But obviously the market in Russia is so big that sometimes we have funny stories. For instance, the cheesemakers of Kenya,
yes,
they were interested in shipping to Russia, and our buyers came and they looked at it and they were excited with the taste and the quality. But then they asked, okay, when are we getting the first container? And the Kenyan party said, it will take us 2 months to produce 22 tons to put it in the container. And the Russians nearly fell off the chair. Said, oh my God, we're selling 1 container of cheese in one large supermarket in 1 day. So 20 tons is what we cut through the day and sell it. So we cannot work with a supplier who will only ship us 6 containers a year, because we need so many containers a day, which means that B2B expert will have to play a role in aggregating supply.
Exactly, because you don't want to just let that person go. You want
Yes.
to link
Yeah,
up
we
with
need to
others.
aggregate a supply, and we are very happy to do that. And this is why large Russian chains, like the big supermarket chains, they're analogs of Tesco and Sainsbury's. They say we cannot have direct contracts with Kenyan suppliers,
Yes.
because they're too small and we're too big. But people like you can actually import on their behalf and then consolidate and supply us. Because what they are interested in is not even the price, it's the stability of supply.
Exactly.
If they start importing avocado, they have to make sure that avocado is always on the shelf.
Yes.
And they don't care much if it comes from Zimbabwe, Kenya, or South Africa. What they care is that it should be available in the quantity they need. Otherwise, they are missing on sales, and they get very upset with that.
And you don't want to make the Russian customers get used to avocado, and then tomorrow it's not there, today it's there. You know, that inconsistency.
Because they
in
spend
supply.
money on the marketing,
Exactly.
on actually teaching people how to eat avocado. So they get, the key for them is the stability of supply. So obviously we love working with the most reliable suppliers, and we are the ones who are trying to be reliable supplier for the chains in Russia. And to achieve all that, we have to have many suppliers.
Yes.
Like really many suppliers, because today he has the product, tomorrow he has drought, the day after tomorrow the worms came and ate apples.
It didn't rain.
In agriculture, yes, it didn't rain, or it did rain too much. In agriculture is always uncertainty. So the more suppliers we have, the better we can serve the market, and actually it will benefit everybody who participates. Because you know that if you didn't supply, there is a brother of yours and a sister of yours who supplied this time, and that means that you can supply tomorrow.
Exactly.
Because if nobody supplies, the market dries out,
up,
and people actually go and start sourcing in Peru, and in Mexico, and in Vietnam, because they say, oh, if Africans are not reliable, then Vietnamese will do. Yeah? So to keep the share of African supply, they have to be reliable, and they have to be many.
Okay.
It's very important.
It's very important, yeah. So I'm happy that you're able to aggregate. Dr. Gachagua, I want to ask about the charges on B2B, for example, because as a Kenyan business person, an SME, I might be concerned and think that B2B is too expensive. What is your experience in terms of how much they charge?
No, B2B, I think to sign on to the platform was $120, so less than $200. And then, you know, all of the support that we got over time, you know, really it was less than 2% of the cost of the equipment. So, and we couldn't have bought the equipment without that support. So it was negligible, but critical.
It was critical
for the purchase. Yeah.
Okay, so it's not this. So this is not an expensive venture. It's actually affordable.
It's affordable because the model for B2B is to work with many different businesses. So it's a scale, I guess, for them. But on an individual basis, it's not expensive.
Do you think B2B is marketing themselves enough in Kenya, or should they also, if people hear more about it, it seems that they're likely to want to be in this kind of online trading. Do you think B2B do people know about B2B when you talk to them?
I think, Katya said, every journey starts with its first step. Yes. Everybody knows about Alibaba, yes. And people have tried. B2B export is a similar concept to Alibaba, but obviously with a Russian twist to it. It will take time. But I think that the concept of online and the concept of sort of trade partnerships with large blocks such as Russia is obvious. Okay. But like anything, the execution is the tough part.
Yeah, okay. But though it's tough, it's possible because at least for you, you've actually gone through the entire process.
The beginning is the hardest part. So, I don't know the history of China, but 20 years ago, I'm sure the people and the suppliers and etc. who were trying to trade between Africa and China, it was an uphill struggle, right? Yes. Today, people only see the results of that, but I'm sure there's been 20 years of hard work by people like B2B to get it to work. So, exactly. At the beginning, it's going to be difficult.
Okay. But I'm very excited about just the fact that exposure that, hey, Kenyans, Russia is a market. They appreciate what you're doing. So I think that, keep it up. And I hope that, are you getting positive results from Kenya so far?
Yeah, we already have some suppliers who subscribed and who trusted us with selling their products. Okay. So we will not disappoint them. We'll definitely provide a good service and we'll do what it takes to try to push their goods. Yeah. We believe in Kenyan entrepreneurs. We know that it's a market with a lot of energy, and people here are quite aggressive in a good way. They like making money, they like discovering new things. Yes. So we bet on that and we want to be their partners in discovering this new market. Yeah. And by the way, even simple products like carrots and potatoes may do.
I know. You need to shout about that because a lot of young people are doing farming now.
Yes, even basic products. So tomatoes, Russia is lacking fresh tomatoes. There's still a hole of about $20 million worth of fresh tomatoes.
$20 million. Yeah. That's a huge market.
A huge
there are no quotas. There are no quotas, like you can't have a limit coming from Africa.
No, Russia doesn't limit African countries. Okay. So far, we are encouraging any exports, and we really, on the government level and the customs level, there are no problems. It's a pure competition. It's a competitive process. You just have to deliver. You just have to supply at a reasonable price. Yes. But government itself doesn't really say, okay, Ghana sells only bananas.
Yes. And the control is not there.
There's no control for that and particular quotas. Everything is possible and everything is available. And obviously, when we get to billions and billions of dollars of trade, then maybe we'll face some limits. But so far, it's a limitless world.
It's an open market. And another thing is that all that you would require from people who are in farming is a certification from the Ministry of Agriculture.
Yes. They have to apply for the FITA certificate for their product, which is supposed to be granted by the Ministry of Agriculture of Kenya. Okay. So far, most of our imports do not require independent certification.
That's good.
So only animal products are a problem because they require additional inspection, and that inspection is very hard to pass. But if it's plant, vegetables, non-animal products, they're easy.
Okay. Wow. All right, I think that's a very exciting opportunity for Kenyan businesses, and I hope that more people are going to actually come on board. And just as we wrap up the show, I'd like you to give a parting shot. I think I'll start with Dr. Gashahu. Tell the young people, the women or the men in Kenya about your experience and maybe some encouragement.
Okay. Somebody once told me that if you want to be a millionaire, you better do business with billionaires. So Russia has the most billionaires in the world. Okay. A lot of these large companies are privately owned. So I think that the relationship with Russia will be different to China because it'll be more driven by the private sector versus a sort of state-to-state, government-to-government large deals that have been more the interaction with China.
Yes.
So I think this is really an opportunity for entrepreneurs, young and old, who really have energy. Who are ambitious, who want to do things that are big, to really work with a big economy and to work with with some very large companies.
Okay. Katerina, please give us a parting shot, but also tell us, how's the weather like? Because in my mind, I also feel like Russia is cold like most of the months of the year. Is that so, or is that a myth?
No, it's another myth, yeah. Russia is not as cold, and in summer it's actually quite hot.
Oh,
the only problem is the summers are short. Yes, so yeah, it's a hot summer, but not too long.
Okay.
And the rest of time is probably not as hot as people would like to be. But again, if you look at the Moscow and St. Petersburg temperatures, they would be very similar to respective European countries. But again, the beauty of online trading is that people don't need to travel to Russia. Yeah?
That's the thing,
And that's the beauty of it. You publish your goods, we'll do the work on the other side, and you see the benefits. And once you made some money, you can spend it on a nice holiday in Russia.
I know. That would be a better reason to go than to inspect things
Yes,
or
exactly.
push your product
Exactly.
to
Just
somebody who
enjoy.
can't even understand you.
Just enjoy the tourism.
Yes.
After the World Cup, we opened up to the world a lot, and the world have been able to see what Russia is. It's a fantastic tourism product.
Yes.
So visiting Russia is a pure pleasure. Yes, so let's make money together and then just spend it nicely.
Just go on holiday there.
Exactly, nicely and in style.
And you know, another way to make money is to actually save on expenses. And you see, B2B saves a lot when it comes to things like warehousing.
Yes,
Tell us a
because
little
we
bit.
allow suppliers to supply directly from Kenya. So we don't ask them to bring their goods, pay for customs, pay for delivery, keep the stock in the market, because that actually causes a lot of upfront investment, which we try to avoid.
Okay.
And this is why I'm a big believer in small, medium businesses. I think for small, medium businesses which are agile, it's a fantastic opportunity. Because if you start demanding big marketing budgets, distribution locally, they will be out of game.
Exactly.
Whereas what we are trying to do, we try to bring them into the game by having a very easy
way of entering the market.
Easy way of entering market.
Yeah. All right. Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure having you. Thank you so much, my viewer, for keeping it here. Remember that if you have products that are selling in Kenya, consider that Russia could be your next supply, could be your next market. And how to do it is very easy. Just log on to B2B. You give us, you're on all social media.
b2bexpert.com, join.
Yeah, please join. And let's make some money from Russia. Thank you so much for joining us, and we'll see you next time. Bye.